Hi, Rachael Taylor. It's wonderful to have you today. You are an educator, an academic, a fashion artist, a trend forecaster as well, and you are a member of the Trend Atelier Community in school. So I'm really excited to have you today. We've really gotten to know each other, even though we've never actually met in person because the community was founded during the pandemic. But I just love everything you do. It's so embedded in sustainability, and you have a huge role to play because you are an educator. But there's so many more strings to your instrument. So you can tell us a little bit more about what you do. You've worked with WGSN. You've been a course leader at Portsmouth. You've done so many things. You've also wrote a very strong academic paper on building new microeconomies, and now you've launched a podcast. I just love people like you who just have many things that fuel their passion to change the world. So basically, if you could just tell us in your own words a little bit more about your work and just what you've been doing, what has led you to this point.
Yeah, thanks, Geraldine. That's really kind of you. I think my work has always been about alternatives. Even when I was younger, I was always seeking out the alternatives and asking the question why, and was curious to, if there's one way of doing things, understanding, is there another way of doing things? So I come from a fashion design background, and then I've had my own fashion label, and I understand the challenges of the industry and sustaining a creative practice. And then I went into education because I wanted to give back, and I love working with people and young people. And I really, a lot of what I do is about helping people to find their way and their potential and find, their unique talents and their unique ways of working. So I work at Solent as a fashion lecturer on fashion promotion, and I tend to embed sustainability in everything I do. Wherever possible, I will embed that into the curriculum. So I will obviously be talking about the industry way of doing things, but then I will also include information on alternatives or emerging ways of doing things, because I think this offers students the opportunity to see the world is bigger than sometimes what is right in front of us. And other aspects, I sort of call myself a fashion artist because I love fashion, but I also love art. And I'm not really a painter, I'm more of a creator of ideas and putting them out there and putting them in practice and testing them out. So that's from different things, from setting up the waste exchange, which was turning it into waste into a currency at Shangri-La, which I was grateful to have the opportunity to do. And like you said, I wrote a paper called Invent Your Own Fashion Economy, which again is giving people their power back, I guess, to reclaim their practice and how they can invent their own ways of working. They don't always have to work within the standard conventional ways. And then more recently I've started a podcast, and that is extending all those ideas, and interviewing different people, from fashion to artists to the community actually, and understanding their process and practice, but also what's the alternatives to that, and how can we sustain a creative practice differently by understanding more about economies, and how can we change economies to be more inclusive and diverse.
I love how you're always talking about raising interest in alternative solutions. Like, you're kind of pirate. I know the other day during one of our community meetings, you were saying how, even when it's not on the curriculum, you put sustainability, and you just put it everywhere. You're just relentless about embedding it. And I love that about how you're just always looking at alternative sources of information, even in the community. Often you're the references you share with us are really interesting. And I was just wondering, I mean, you've touched upon it just now, but like, I guess we talk a lot about mission in the Trend Atelier community, and obviously we've done exercises around being clear about communicating our mission and carrying it out. And I was wondering, like, at this stage in your work and your life, like, what do you feel your mission is? Embodying some of the things you've already said, but maybe you can tell a bit more in your own words.
I think at the heart of my mission is inspiring and empowering people to realise there's many alternative ways to exist in the world. There's not one. And, there's many different ways to create a positive change, even if it's small. And I think what I try to do that through my creative work, and also not just my work, but nurturing the potential of, say, students and bringing their voice to the forefront, and to realise that they have a lot to contribute to the world from their perspective of what they're seeing. And also, I think in relation to alternative economies and cultures is kind of questioning the status quo. It's like when people aren't happy with things, kind of saying, well, it's choosing differently, and it's kind of empowering people to have the confidence to do that and to test that out and try it out, whether it's, thinking about how they can do business differently or make something differently, and to realize that is actually possible. So I think it's definitely about making sustainability a possibility in everyday life in an easy way, I guess. And showing that in practice, I think.
I think what you're saying, I know for me in exchanging with you, like, what I like is that, looking at sustainable solutions and changing systems can be quite daunting. And the seriousness of the situation we're in can feel like, what can I even do? But you're very much solutions focused, and you have this, like, bottomless source of energy to be like, no, but actually we could do this, or think around things creatively, which is always really inspiring. Yeah. And I would say, you're trying to help bring solutions, and we have a number of educators in the community, because I guess many forecasters, independent consultants also lecture, either as guests or part-time, or sometimes even more. It really depends. And so what I'm trying to say is that your role is so critical for the generations to come. The system of education needs change, but also the students want change. And I loved it the other day when you were saying, when I talk about other solutions, their ears and eyes perk up, and they're like, yeah. And then it's like, the foundation is kind of already there, and you're helping just push that door open, kind of thing.
That's it. And I think with the different papers I wrote, like with the ripple effect tool, that's about combining kind of what exists, like all these alternatives exist. And when you put them in the mixing pot, you can create your own version of it. Invent your own microeconomy that suits your business based on your values and your mission. And by inspiring one person to do that, will inspire someone else to do that. And that's why I called it the ripple effect. And I think the more that we co-create, or people kind of push the boundaries more in the way that we can do business more sustainably, it helps other people to realize it's a possibility and it's a reality that could exist, and I think for me, it's really important to look at the whole picture, like the consequences of our actions, of what we're doing, and understanding that.
Yeah. And that's what's great about the ripple economy. I mean, people can look it up. We're going to share the links to everything you do, but the system you've developed is, in terms of a decentralized system, a sharing economy system, is really fascinating. But I wanted to just ask you as well, what are the challenges that you've experienced? What types of things have you had to, to overcome as well in your?
I think the challenges are, if you have a concept that is pushing the boundaries or questioning the status quo, I think it takes longer for people to sometimes connect with that, because there's a comfort in certainty, isn't there? And I think what we've realised since the COVID is, certainty is not always certain. And I think the challenges that I found was that when I've presented new ideas about economies and alternatives, is people kind of scared to open that box kind of thing, because they're so set in their ways, I guess. But also it's going outside of the mainstream, and people, with economy, I think especially people like to feel it's certain, it's solid, because it's connected to so many things. Yet for me, what I realised also is when you're talking about those kind of ideas, sometimes they, and when you work a lot with futures, it can be quite ahead. So instead of giving up and think no one gets the idea, I think it's really, that's the point where you really have to be true to yourself and kind of ground yourself and persevere, and just use that time to develop your ideas further and evolve them, and think about how you can get feedback from different people, different ways you can deliver those ideas for people to understand. And also, like in 2013, when I was talking about people will be swapping clothes, not buying as much, will be renting clothes, that will become the norm, they'll hold on to their clothes longer. People couldn't understand that concept because everything was about new and fast. Whereas now, 2021, people have realised after a year of not wearing all their clothes, they don't actually need as much. So conversations are changing, and I think people are more open to alternatives now. So what I would say is that it's really important that you use that time. Instead of giving up, you just use that time to evolve further. So when things do change and people are more open to those conversations, you're ready with all those solutions and possibilities.
That's great, and so inspiring. And I know that we've done you were developing a workshop around your developing fashion economies and microeconomies and your ripple effect tool. And I was like, you have to host a workshop in the community, and you hosted it, and I facilitated it, and just would love to know a bit of how the community, the Trend Atelier community, has also supported you in your mission.
Yeah, I would say that it's been an integral part, actually, because I think since being in the community I've grown creatively, personally and professionally. And I think, with your support and giving me that chance to deliver that workshop, I'm so grateful for, because along that you kind of helped with your guidance, which was really great, and the mentorship, and helped me see different ways that I could communicate that message, which I think was really valuable, and actually has helped me in other areas of ideas that I've got. But also that opportunity to deliver a workshop to the community, which is such a mix of people who work across different creative industries worldwide, and to have the perspectives from them and feedback was really valuable as well. And I think that opportunity to do 2 workshops, and and I think you believing in the idea also gave me lots of confidence to do the workshop, and I think that has helped the idea grow further, and helped with, gave me the confidence also to set up my podcast. And from the feedback I got from the different members and yourself, helped me realise the potential of things that I didn't see, allowing me the opportunity to do that within the community, and that belief in those ideas is really, that builds confidence in itself, doesn't it?
Do you think it helped you in terms of your your podcast as well, like
Yeah,
just you were watching it at the time.
Yeah, definitely. Your guidance, and I would say sort of mentoring really helped, because you really helped me understand you know clear communication. So if you've got a complex idea, what's the simplest way you can communicate it? And help people engage with that. And I think and I think also what I learned from I learned loads from our conversations in the lead up, but the staging the different sections of presenting, and then so people know what's coming. And the feedback I got from the members and yourself was then that made me realize that there's an opportunity to talk about economies, and that's the amazing thing about the community, is that co-creative conversation. It opens up new ways of thinking, new ways of doing. We have critical conversations, we come up with solutions. And I think for me it's a really special place, because it feels safe to take risks and be creative and have those open conversations that you really want to have about making a positive change in what you do.
Yeah. And being open and feeling safe enough to talk about those vulnerabilities, which requires a form of courage, but also the right kind of environment. I know, like, it was just really inspiring to, prep that workshop. I always feel like I can't just say, oh yeah, host it, I have a responsibility to make sure you feel comfortable and set up. I just wanted to, end with you telling us a little bit more about, your podcast or the next projects you're working on. I know that it's the pandemic, so you might not be working with Glastonbury Festival and the Shangri-La space and the Waste Exchange in the same way, at least for now, but you've got other super exciting things that you're working on. I love your podcast. Tell us a little bit more.
Okay, so what I'm working on at the moment, obviously, is still the podcast, and the next episode is actually coming out in September, and that's going to be a fashion-based one. So I'm excited about that. I'm not going to reveal who it is. I like the surprise.
I need to say the name of the podcast. I realize
sorry, Shapes of Society podcast. So I'll be continuing to work on that, and the Instagram that's connected to the podcast is shapers_of_society. And you can find it on Anchor and all the usual channels of Apple or Spotify. Seems to be the popular choice. And then also I'm going to be starting a newsletter to talk about the podcast and what's coming. But also it will include information on some workshops that I'm going to do, which is a series of workshops that would be based on inventing your own fashion economy or micro economy, because I want to widen it to different creative disciplines, which people can sign up to or news on. So I'll be doing a mailing list, which you can email me at which is are@shapesociety.org.
Great. I mean, it's been amazing to have you. We're going to have all your links.
Send them over. And, is that my email? You have to check, because I hardly ever use it. But I do use it, but I'm starting to use it. It's connected to the
commitment. It's a commitment now. Having
now I'm changing my newsletter. I've used my work email for so much stuff, like the Trend community. I'm like, I'm going to have to change my email on everything to this email. We are at Shapes.
But it's good. I think it creates a type of cognitive alignment. Actually, we don't realize how these little things actually really matter in our identity and how we present ourselves to the world. And
shall I tell you who I'm interviewing next? I've interviewed them. I did it last week. I'm really
well. Do you want everyone to know? Because
No. Oh, we're still filming. Sorry, I didn't realize.
Keep it as a teaser. I guess this is a good place to end in our chat. But thanks so much for joining me today on our Member Stories episode, our very first episode. It's really an honor to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation, and all the support that you've given me through the community. I'm really grateful.
Yeah. Well, the Trend Atelier community has been really pivotal for me as well, So yeah, it's definitely a two-way road.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful to all the members that came to our workshop as well.
Yeah. But so I guess I'll end it here, It's an awkward end, not sure how to end it, but thanks everyone who's watching. Do check out Rachel's different links on Instagram, Shapers of Society, on her podcast, also called Shapers of Society, and I'll put her email in the body of the text for this post. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.